Welcome back, everyone. This is the Inside Line. I am your host, Gabby Hall, digital content editor at Ski Racing Media. If this is your first time tuning in, I have to let you know that this is the most awesome ski racing podcast for women on the internet. It's really for everyone, actually. And in fact, this might be the only women's ski racing podcast out there. So thanks for stopping by. And if you haven't already had the chance to, I hope you will tune in to our first two episodes where we had some great guests. The Inside Line is brought to you by Team Ski Safe, a medical ID bracelet designed to be worn on or off the slopes. As we know, skiing is one of the world's most popular winter sports. And as with any sport, there is a risk of injury. Ski Safe can help put your mind at ease, knowing that with a bracelet and unique ID number, you are prepared for first responders who can access your secure medical history. And Team Ski Safe is the official medical bracelet of WIS Sports. You can find more information about the bracelet and the great range of colors and styles by visiting their website at teamskisafe.com. And when you order your bracelet, remember to mention the Inside Line. And I'm really excited to have you guys here. This is an exciting episode because it's World Cup opener week. So ski racing season is really about to kick off in North America. It's an Olympic season. I've talked about that in the last two episodes. You're going to hear me say it a lot this season, but I'm very, very excited. So we're going to kick things off with fresh tracks. And I wanted to start things off with talking about the new Warren Miller film. You know, I grew up watching Warren Miller ski films. I have very distinct memories of meeting with my friends from Sugar Bowl ski team at the Marin Civic Center. And those films and that activity really signaled the start of winter for me. And I think it's the same for a lot of people that grew up in this sport. And I actually got a screener of the film for this year, Line of Descent. And there's, a lot of amazing footage from a lot of incredible ski locations, many of which I have not been to. But I wanted to kind of call it a few of the awesome highlights because I want you guys to go see it because they're always really amazing. The film includes a segment on NASTAR. And if you guys aren't familiar with NASTAR is the largest public grassroots ski racing program in the world. So it's a cool opportunity for people of all ages to get involved with the sport. You've probably seen NASTAR courses at a lot of your own ski areas. And it's just cool to see, racing in this all mountain ski film. And then there was also a section on Squaw Valley. And I know it's not racing specific, but, Squaw Valley is in my home area, Lake Tahoe. I didn't compete there, but I raced there a lot as a kid. And it's always fun to see a slice of home on the big screen. But for the racing contingency, this year's film does have a few former ski racers like Marcus Kasten and Errol Kerr on the men's side. And then Kaylin Richardson is holding it down for the ladies. And Kaylin was a really solid World Cup racer back in her day. She had her peak performance in 2007 in the slalom at Kranjska Gora, where she got 8th. And she competed in 2 Olympic Games, 2006 and 2010. And during her career, she also won a couple U.S. national titles, also in slalom and downhill. So she was a very talented skier across multiple disciplines. And she's really fun to watch in this film. I highly recommend it. You can watch her at your local showing. I'm going to put the link below this podcast. So you'll be able to find dates in your area. Definitely worth taking a look. Like I said, it just gets you psyched for the season in a way for me that nothing else can do that. The music, the videography, and the storylines are amazing, and it's just going to make you want to get on snow. So I definitely recommend tuning in. And now we have to get into some more of our breaking news headlines. And unfortunately, a few days ago, we found out that Ilka Stuic, the Slovenian skier, has been injured. She was training in pit stall in Austria. She tore her ACL, which is going to require surgery on Wednesday. And her coach said in a recent press conference that her fall actually didn't seem that bad. So when she first fell, she was able to get down to the restaurant on the hill. An ambulance took her to the hospital. It wasn't until they were at the hospital that they realized the severity of the injury. And that obviously required surgery. So, at the time of this recording, she hadn't yet undergone surgery. We don't have many details on the recovery time, but typically with an ACL tear, you're looking at the 6-month recovery time. I mean, it is essentially a season-ending injury. I mean, you never know for sure until they say something, but typically injuries like this don't bode well for someone getting to race in the Olympic Games or something like that this season. And she's going to be really missed for a number of reasons. I mean, Ilka had an incredible breakout season last year. I mean, I remember watching the Lake Louise downhill. She came down bib 29 to win the race, which never happens. Someone who covers races a lot, usually by the top 20, particularly in speed because of the start order, you kind of start collecting stats on who's in the lead and collecting information for your story. So it's very surprising when someone comes down 29 to win the race. I mean, it obviously completely changed the storyline, but also completely changed the storyline for the season because Ilka ended the season just behind Michaela Schifrin, just 200 points behind her. So coming into the 2017-18 season, I really saw her as an overall contender. I think a lot of people did. And certainly with her world championship gold in downhill this past season, she was certainly an Olympic medal contender. And so I think this particular injury hits hard just from an emotional perspective, because I think she had such an incredible season last season. But she's actually no stranger to injury. So one of the things I wanted to mention is really about her mom. So Ilka was injured a few years back and has really worked her way back up with little help from the national team and working a lot with her mom and a private coach. And her mom is actually her ski tech. So every World Cup race, every training day, her mom is working on her skis, making some of the fastest on the circuit. And if you're familiar with the ski racing world, coaching, ski techs, a lot of that is very male dominated. So to see a woman in that position and absolutely crushing it is very cool. And then to see the mother-daughter duo is really phenomenal and just something interesting to keep an eye on, I think, as a writer. So for me personally, it's a cool storyline. So they're a power team. I'm hoping that the injury, isn't so bad that it keeps her out for a really long time. We want to see her back on the circuit for sure. But the positive side of all of this is that the Solden World Cup is this weekend. It's Saturday and Sunday, women's Saturday, men's Sunday. So the ski season is here, essentially. And I'm, for one, thrilled. And if you guys didn't know this, Solden has actually been hosting the World Cup opener since 2000. So they had, a handful of World Cups in the 90s, starting in 1993. But it wasn't until 2000 that they became the annual host of the World Cup opener. It's only been canceled once in its history, back in 2006. Now, I actually have had the chance to go to Solden before, back in the day. I was in high school, which really wasn't that many years ago, but it feels like a lifetime ago. Solden is a really incredible town, an incredible venue, and you get up on that glacier, and the hill that the athletes race down is steep, icy. I mean, it's extremely challenging, and you'll hear the athletes talk about that a lot. But to be exposed to a World Cup race in person at that venue is an incredible way to do it. So if you have the opportunity to ever go to Solden, I definitely recommend it. I was obviously very, very fortunate that I was training there and that those things coincided. But teams were actually training at the venue before the race, which isn't something that happens every year, just depends on snow conditions. But the team, a lot of teams, Norwegians, Americans, Austrians, just about everyone who could was on the race slope up until about a week before the race. For those who don't know, the FIS clearly states that athletes can't train on a race venue, up to 5 days before the free ski training run on the slope, essentially. So, or the scheduled training runs. But they all had to scatter for the last week, but they were on the race slope. So it'll be interesting to see how much of an advantage that is for athletes this year, comparing athletes who had an opportunity or chose to train at Solden versus those who were training at places like s1e3 or alternative venues and took time off. So that's just something to keep an eye on. Certainly a storyline I'll be watching as we watch the races this weekend. And while there's a lot of athletes missing, I mean, I think on the last couple shows I've talked about not only Stuich, but Goot, Fight, all those athletes have either been injured or decided to skip Solden in favor of more downtime and more training time. But we will still have a very competitive field. I mean, we expect to have Michaela Schifrin, the overall globe winner from last season, an American who could win at Solden and has before. Sofia Goggia, I expect, will be racing. Tessa Worley from France, I expect, will be racing. And I'm also excited to see how Victoria Ravensburg does. She's never, the German won her first ever World Cup at Solden in 2010. So she has won there before, but she hasn't won a World Cup since 2016. She missed Solden last year when she had an injury that knocked her out for a few weeks. So it'll be really interesting to see how she does. I'm optimistic. I really like watching her race. And I also wanted to give a shout out to U.S. fans listening to this show. Right now we aren't sure what the broadcast schedule will be for NBC Sports. We're waiting on that information. And we also don't have the official roster of American starters yet. But those things will be going up on skiracing.com as soon as they become available. So please keep an eye out. I think your guys might be pleasantly surprised by the women's roster from what I hear. I can't give you any details on what I've heard, but I just think it's something really worth keeping your eye out for. So definitely be tuning into skiracing.com every day. That's a shameless plug for our site and for my own writing, but I'll be covering the women's circuit this season. So I hope you'll read my stuff. And luckily for us, ahead of this weekend's race, I was actually able to grab a quick phone call with Italy's Sofia Goggia. And if you guys don't know who Sofia is, she, like Ilka, actually had a breakout season last season, had podiums in Alpine Combined, GS, won the test events over in South Korea this past year. So she's definitely an Olympic medal contender. Anyway, so I had a chance to talk with her, and not only is she an incredible athlete, but I also find her to be one of the funniest athletes on the World Cup circuit. I mean, if you follow her on social media, you'll understand what I'm saying. The one thing I was telling my producer, Chris, about this, the one thing is that I wish I spoke Italian so that I could understand everything she's saying on her Instagram stories, because she clearly has this timing and delivery, and I can't understand a word of what she's saying. But I really wish I did, so I might have to pick up Italian. But like I said, I was able to connect with Sofia for a quick phone call during a really busy media day. You'll notice this is a phone call where she was between a press conference and interviews with a lot of other reporters, so you may have some background noise. Sofia, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm really excited to have you. I know you're in the middle of a really crazy press day. I was noticing on Instagram, were you on a cooking show recently?
Yeah, thank you for inviting me at first. Yes, yesterday evening I went to the Swiss television, and well, it was not a kitchen program. It was they made me a surprise, and they made me cook the polenta, which is the typical plate from the city in which I live in, Bergamo. And it was super fun and super cool. No one else organized something like that before them. I had to go in Swiss, actually.
Oh, interesting. And do you like to cook? Is that something you enjoy doing?
No, I prefer to eat rather than cooking. Also because I don't like to clean everything after having cooked. It's kind of mess. I prefer to eat. Yeah.
Yeah, doing the dishes is my least favorite part of cooking. It's awful.
Yeah.
And so things are about to kick off with the Solden World Cup opener, and you've raced there a few times. What do you like about that venue?
No, sorry.
What do you like about that race hill at Solden?
Of course, it's the opening. Everyone is here, is there watching you. It's like the first race of all the season, so it has a kind of different pressure and expectation from everyone. It's a typical John slalom, really technique, left and right, made on a glacier, so it's kind of steep, and then there is the flat, and it's not so difficult technically, but it's fun. It's fun because also the spectator can see all the slope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And is that race fun because you get to see a lot of people that you maybe haven't seen in the off season? It's like a reunion with all your friends.
Yeah, it's like, hey girls, how are you doing? How was your summer? Did you train well? Yes, we will see you after the race.
And are you feeling pretty confident going into Solden?
Well, I actually have still 10 days before Solden, so I'm going to put some work before it. I had good vibes in the ski stage in South America, and well, I have still to work on some details, but I think I'm on point and on my go way.
I'm glad to hear it. And one of the other venues that I'm interested in talking about is Killington. 'Cause
Yeah.
you had your first World Cup podium there last
Yeah.
season. Are you
Yeah.
looking forward to coming back to the U.S. and racing there?
Yes, I'm. Of course, after Solden, we're moving on in the USA on the 6th November, and then of course, when I will be in Killington, I think I will be pretty excited. And first of all, I want to eat some peanut butter because in Vermont it's so good. And I had too much last year. Maybe this is the reason behind my podium.
Definitely. You'll have to bring some back to Europe.
Should be.
Did you have maple syrup while you were in Vermont?
Well, no, I prefer the peanut butter. It's more salty, and I prefer salt rather than sweetness.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
And when you were in Killington, I mean, aside from the fact that it was such a successful race for you,
Yeah.
what did you think of U.S. racing culture?
Well, I really did like it because I wasn't expecting that all these people just for Killington was pretty a crowd down there, and it was super exciting to race there. So I really do like, and I like the way the American cheer for everyone, independently from the nation and the country from which the athlete comes.
Absolutely. Well, we loved having you here. I mean, it's always really cool as someone who lives in the U.S. on the East Coast near Vermont. It's really cool to have you guys come to town because we never had that growing up. And switching gears a little bit, you seem to be good friends with Lindsey Vonn, at least
Yes.
as a spectator. And I'm curious, with all this conversation around the proposal to have her race the men, what do you think? Do you think they should allow her to race the men?
Well, I have such a great respect for her. She's one of the most She is the winning woman of all the times in skiing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a honor for me to race with her. I actually don't want to judge her or say my opinion about that, but I would be really glad if I am already winning with the woman.
Mm-hmm.
So I would never ask to race with the men. This is my opinion, and I'm not talking about anyone else.
Definitely, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very individual decision.
Yeah,
to want to do
point of
something
view,
like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you had your first win. You actually beat Lindsay in South Korea this past season, which
Yeah.
is really exciting. What did it feel like? You say it's an honor to race with her. What did it feel like to beat her in that race?
Well, it was incredible because some years ago I was on the sofa with the leg up and I was watching her at the Olympics in Vancouver. It was 2010 running, and I was so in admiration for her. And well, I came to compete with her some years ago, and in last season when I beat her, I said, Jesus, you beat it the most winning one. You're there. And it was such a great honor for me, and it is still just to race with her. Just respect for.
Right. Sophia, are you still there? Sophia? Sophia,
there?
Yes. Sorry, we lost you for a second. I just have one more question. This will be your first Olympic Games. How are you feeling heading into this season?
Well, first of all, I have to qualify, and then we will be talking about my first Olympic once there.
Right.
Well, I had great work both physically and on skis and mentally, and for me, it is fine. I'm just trying to be the fastest one, the fastest Sofia that every day can be. I can be, and we will see. I don't feel so much pressure actually, but we will see under the races.
Right. But you did seem to like that venue. I mean, you obviously had great races while you were there. Did you like that slope? What did you think of it?
Where? Sorry.
In South Korea.
Yeah, I of course I like them, but as you perfectly do know already, things can change from a day to another one, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm not thinking about the win I had last year. I'm just working to be a better one day by day.
Excellent. Well, glad to hear it. Thank you so much for your time, Sophia. I know
No,
you're
thanks to
incredibly
you.
busy.
Was really kind and nice. Okay.
Yeah, and I will be seeing you in Killington, and I look forward to it.
Yeah, see you there.
Thanks again to Sophia for chatting with me. I'm really excited to see how she does this season. And before I sign off this show, I have a few other stories I think you guys might find interesting. Back in May, I was able to go down to Mammoth Mountain in California and shoot the third episode of the American Downhillers series. If you're not familiar, Ski Racing Media and POC, the helmet company, we partnered to do this video series called American Downhiller. And American Downhiller is what the men's speed team has actually branded themselves as. But this particular camp had male and female speed coaches and male and female athletes, up and coming junior athletes. You had Alice McKennis and Leanne Smith both on site, Marco Sullivan, who's now retired, coordinating the whole thing. Anyway, very cool camp. The video just came out. It's definitely worth watching if you're interested in learning a little bit more about how some of these veteran athletes are giving back to the younger generation. So I'll be sure to put that link below the podcast. And the other story that I think is important, and I hope you guys will take a chance to read, is a story that my colleague Sean Higgins wrote. He works for Ski Racing Media, generally covers the Men's World Cup circuit, and does a lot of our coverage of junior American racing. But he did an article about U.S. skiing and a program called Safe Sport. And that program is aimed at curbing physical, emotional, and sexual misconduct across the athletic spectrum. So they'll operate similar to how the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency operates, independently of the doping world. So Safe Sport will do the same when investigating claims of abuse. And I think this has always been a very important issue. I don't think anyone would deny that, but I think it's particularly timely, considering the scandals we've seen inside organizations like USA Gymnastics. So I just recommend reading the article if you're at all interested in what's being done within this sport to kind of combat issues like that. But for now, those are all the topics I wanted to cover this episode. I know we talked about a lot. But if you're interested in more conversations in the wider world of women's sports, including articles, videos, blogs, and more than 700 podcast episodes, I hope you'll visit wispsports.com. And you can follow Wisp Sports on social media. And you can also follow Ski Racing Media at Ski Racing Media across all platforms. You can also download the Inside Line on iTunes under Wisp Sports Radio. And you'll find all of our episodes along with amazing, amazing shows that I recommend you tune in to. I will be back in 2 weeks' time with another episode of The Inside Line as we head into the Slalom World Cup in Levi, Finland. Until then, keep your eyes on skiracing.com for coverage from Solden. Talk to you guys soon.